Hey everybody, HMV here, playing more Kerbal Space Program, and today we are launching the Discovery 1, which will eventually go to Jool. We probably won't make it to Jool today. Bleeblo and Gene, I believe Bleeblo is the pilot and Gene is the scientist. The contract requires a pilot and a scientist. It also requires, I believe, the vessel to be named Discovery 1. That's not green. I'm going to assume that that's okay. It needs to be in Jool, in orbit, and the thing that it has to, the orbit it has to match, we've seen it already around Jool. So that's what we have to do. But this is going to be kind of a storied career because we need to refuel twice before we launch. And we're going to launch in 3, 2, 1, launch! It's a pretty hefty ship with pretty bad control off the launch. I am basically forcing it to the right as much as I possibly can in order to get as much right ways velocity as I can, because I'm never going to be at the point where I'm happy with how much over I have pushed it. Bleeblo and Gene are both terrified. I have a feeling Gene is probably terrified because Bleeblo's terrified. And I hope you guys are watching this. I never know if the people who have asked for their names to be on are watching. I don't care that much. It's just, you know, it would be nice. As soon as these solids are done, we're going to have a lot more control over the ship. Which is good, because we need it. We're not actually running the main engine yet. We're gonna let those go. Yeah, we're gonna toss those. And then we're gonna tilt this guy sideways pretty strongly because we want a decent orbit. Now our apoapsis is already 37, so I actually think I'm going to go down to about the 20-degree mark here. And we're just going to deal with it like this. Now his thrust to weight is moderately, let's see, what is it? It's moderately low. It's 1.7, so we're going to have a little bit of trouble getting this guy into space, but not too much. As long as we keep this up moderately close to a minute or so, we should be fine. But this is going to be boring, so until I ditch the fairings, which honestly I could do at any time, but I'm going to hold them onto them until we get up to about 50 kilometers. But until I ditch the fairings, there's not much else to watch, so I will meet you there. Okie doke, we have broken 50 kilometers, so here go the fairings. Still moderately affected by air, but not too bad. And this is the ship here. Let's, we're driving right into the sun, so it's kind of hard to see. Let's turn the light up here. I believe Bleeblo and nope, these ones are empty. These were supposed to be where they were at launch, but I guessed wrong. Apparently, I think they're in these two. Or actually, you know what? I think these are the ones that are supposed to be in the launch. This is the ship that's going to have enough Delta V to meet up with that. The monolith that we're going to find on Jool. However, it's going to be going everywhere. This whole thing is going to Jool. And we are going to use this to dock with the space station in low Kerbal orbit. That's going to then fill our tanks so that we can get up to Minmus. And then we're going to use this to dock to the fuel station that we have in orbit of Minmus, refill all of our tanks, and then we're going to launch this whole thing to Jool. We should actually have, and I'm watching my time to apoapsis. As long as that's going up, I'm gonna tilt down. Because we want this to be a pretty efficient launch. I mean, we've got $2 grand. We could actually probably get this thing all the way up to Minmus, and I might decide to do that because we've pumped all these guys' fuel out into this guy, so he's just running off of his own fuel. If when we get up into orbit we've got, let's say, over 1,200 meters per second left, I'll just go to Minmus and screw the station that I spent so much time and effort putting into low Kerbal orbit. But you'll notice we're 60 days away from our Jool window, and the reason we do that is because it takes about 10 days or so to get up to Minmus, and another 10 days to get back down. And Minmus takes 50 days to get around its orbit, so you want to give yourself enough time to You want to give yourself enough time to get Minmus in the right spot to eject. You also notice that the huge fuel depot that's in orbit around Kerbin has a maneuver node. That's not there for him to get to Jool. That's there for him to mark when we should be leaving Minmus in order to eject ourselves to Jool. Okay, we've got 1805. We've got plenty of meters per second to get to Minmus, so we're just gonna do that. We're not gonna stop at the station like I thought we were, because I launched this thing far more efficiently than I did in testing. Okay, we are not out of the atmosphere yet, so I'm not going to open the solar panels, even though they would be fine. But we are going to aim ourselves at this maneuver node, this tiny little 30 meter per second maneuver node that's going to get us into a 100 by 100 orbit. And as always, you've seen this before, so I'm not going to make you watch it. I will meet you as we're approaching the station at Minmus. Okay, we are sidling up against our station here. I have a maneuver node, although I don't really need it, because we're just slowing down here relative to our target. It is dark, which kind of sucks, but not a big deal. You'll notice this is another huge fuel depot like the one I put around Kerbin. I'm pretty sure I showed that in an episode, but I'm not guaranteeing anything. This guy has a very annoying tendency, this ship, to Kerbal Engineer's time to node burn and stuff. It's not showing up now because I don't have a node set up. But the time to node burn is completely wrong on that thing. I've actually been using what the game says because the game is right. I'm sure it's something I did weird, but who knows. We need to dock to one of these nodes. Let's see, where is the other ship here? It's up there. This node seems reasonable. So let's hop over to the ship. Oh, we're too far away, which is annoying. Even though we've been to in orbit of Kerbin and in orbit of Minmus, Bleeblow still doesn't have the smarts to do anything other than hold SAS. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but it's okay. We can do this without the extended tools, I think. Especially because we have RCS. And we have the nav HUD here. So I'm just going to get this guy a little bit closer to the station here. Not much is going to happen until we get in the sun, because I like to do this kind of thing in the sun. But we are going to sidle up next to him here. Get ourselves close to this port that we're going to be docking to. We can probably set it as a target now. There we go. And control from here, even though this is a little bit going to be a little wobbly. Shouldn't be too bad because we're quite strutted up. And look at that, the sun just rose. It's like the game wants me to just come in right now. So what we're going to do here is we are going to bring ourselves over this way. So we're quite a ways away from the port. We don't want to crash these two stations together. That's the last thing I want to do. But we're going to get these guys aimed up together. I'm actually going to rotate it this way. This guy's rotational is crazy. Then we are going to turn on the RCS and slow ourselves down so we're no longer going sideways. Okay, where's our direction? Our direction's up there. Okay, so we want to bring our direction down a little bit and sideways a little bit. That should be perfect. We are now coming in towards the docking port. It's kind of a big thing here. Let's turn the alarm clock off so we have extra room here. The RCS is fairly well balanced on this thing, although it's hard to balance it in any normal way, simply because it's got to be used when the ship's empty, when the ship's full. Mostly when the ship's empty, though, so that's not a big deal. How are we doing? We're still a fair ways away. 3 decimeters a second is perfectly fine as far as I'm concerned. Nav HUD makes this thing so much easier, but you could do this with the nav ball. It's just, why would you when you have such a great tool in the nav HUD? And we're going to bring these guys together. Going to switch on high controls here. And we're docked. Now that right there is a lot of stuff going on. Okay, he should already be filling up. He is. Now these guys should also be filling up. They have. He is perfectly full. Now the only thing I have to do is I have to get the ore out of all of these guys and put it in these guys. So let's go ahead and do that. And we can't do that automatically, which is sad and annoying. Okay, now this guy has the 1403. And these two guys together, so that means that we're going to have 2003, which was exactly what we wanted. We might as well transfer some supplies. We've got supplies in these guys. Might as well transfer them into here, and then we're going to lock this. I have to remember to unlock it when the time comes. But now we are... where's the alarm clock? We are 31 days. It took me longer to get here because I waited for the time, but that's not a big deal. Because if you look here, if we set the huge fuel depot as a target, we're going to see its maneuver node, and we have passed it, which is actually a problem. We're going to be up here, though, in about 20-ish days. Probably a little over 20. I think what we should do is we should plan to launch then. At least we should set up a maneuver node to launch then. So I'm going to fast forward time until we're up here, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you my maneuver node as it stands. Okay, well, I set up a maneuver node that will get this guy to Jool from where he is now, which is, if you look here, burning directly from here to Jool. The problem is it is 2256, and going from Minmus directly to Jool is somewhere in the vicinity of half that. So we're not going to do this burn. This is a big waste of fuel. We're gonna do it late, but also more correctly. So we're gonna do that actually. If we look here, you zoom out a bit. We're actually gonna do it at a position where we can leave Minmus and come around this way and burn off this way, which is basically 25 days from now. So I'm actually gonna add a raw time alarm for 25 days from now. And we're going to say Discovery 1 to Jool-ish, because it's going to be a crazy setup. So we don't need this alarm because we actually don't need this maneuver node. And that means that we are going to actually be launching 2 ships before Discovery 1 goes to Jool, and that's going to be the satellite that's going to go to Jool, and then we're going to launch another satellite to Elu. So let's go ahead and do that really quick, and then send this guy off to Jool. Okay, this is the ship that is going to be going to Elu. We're going to launch that one first as a test. We're about a half hour after sunset, launching from here. And you've seen this guy launch before. The big question is, how exactly are we going to get him to burn all the way to Elu? And that's going to be a little bit interesting. So we're just going to basically see this. And if this works, we're going to do the exact same thing for our launch to Jool. Because Elu and Jool windows happen to be at exactly the same time. So if this works well, we're going to launch at 1:21 in the morning. Zulu time. Okay, we have a problem. We're actually getting a Jool encounter with this ship. That's actually getting in the way of our Elu encounter. So I'm just going to do this burn. It's kind of close-ish, and then we'll have to fix it on the fly, because we're getting down to the 0 hour here. So let's go ahead and ditch all this stuff. And let's go ahead and get him aimed correctly. Let's also hit backspace to get these off. And this is a big burn. It's in a minute, which means we should basically do it right now. Let's go ahead. Okie doke. This guy's burn is done. I think I'm going to be a stickler. I'm going to go into map mode first. Yeah, because he's nowhere near where he wants to be. Huh. Yeah, you know what? We're going to stick with this. We're just going to bring it down manually here and hope that the descending node, we get some sort of indication. There we go. This is, we can work with this, I guess. Let's add a maneuver at our Jool periapsis to see if we can fix this problem here. This is a maneuver a burn we're going to do in Jool's sphere of influence for 88 meters per second, which is perfectly reasonable. There's no reason we can't do that. So there you go. We've got an encounter with Elu with this guy, so we can rename him Elu Sciencer. And he has nothing to do for a very long time. So we can launch our other ship 1 day from now. You'll see this actually gets us a really good encounter with Jool. A little bit low, but we can fix that halfway there. Here we are, just bringing it in and done. That is perfect. We can fix the rest of this halfway there. And we want to come in somewhere in the vicinity of lathe to blathe and do something like that. And actually, yeah, we want to come into lathe because the goal of this guy is to get a synchronous orbit around Jool. And I just realized it's backwards. Huh. This could be interesting. But we'll worry about that when the time comes, shall we? We don't need these windows anymore because we've launched everything except for one ship, which is the Discovery 1. So I'm gonna eject Discovery 1, and then we are gonna finish this episode off. So I'm not gonna show you these guys leaving Sphere of Influence because that's boring. And I'll be back when we're ejecting Discovery 1 from Minmus. Okay, I figured I would show you what I'm going to do here in order to eject to Jool, just so you know. I set this guy, Huge Fuel Depot, as my target. Notice his maneuver node has him going off this way. Ignore that for the moment, the fact that these guys don't go off very correctly. Then I set up 3 maneuver nodes, and obviously I'm not going to do them perfectly, but mostly they're here to make sure that I did everything right. The first maneuver node is, if we go back to Minmus here, it's your standard return to Kerbin maneuver node. It's burning retrograde to get a low periapsis over Kerbin. My second maneuver node is at the ascending node of my orbit as I'm coming up here in relation to the ship that I have in Kerbin orbit here. And it's to get my orbit the same as his so that we're in the plane of Jool. My third maneuver node is actually my ejection. And if you look up here, if we put a target on Jool, it gets a nice encounter with Jool that I didn't even look at. As soon as I got the encounter, I knew I was good. The total of these 3 burns is 156, about 80 some. So now we're talking 230, 240. And then 1220, which is 1600. So we're saving about $1,000, about 800, I don't know, meters per second by waiting until Minmus is on the other side, and then doing these 3 burns. Now, I'm not going to make you sit through the whole thing, but I will show you each burn as they start and end, and then that's going to be it. And hopefully this is correct, because as I said that this has been wrong before. 156 meters per second in 10 seconds seems reasonable to me, so I'm going to trust it this time. Looks like 10 seconds is about right, so hopefully Kerbal Engineer has figured itself out. Okay, that's probably the best we can get. So now our next burn, we're going to have to fiddle with it to make sure it's right once we're out of the sphere of influence. Still seems reasonable. Looks like we're actually going to end up burning less on our third node. Which works for me. There we go. So we just saved some meters per second just by randomness. Okay, our second node we're burning in 2, 1, now. And that's about as good as we're going to expect to get. And now it's all about making sure this one actually gets us to Jool. And it does. Actually, well, let's do this. And it does, which is sweet. And now we actually want to also try to get this as good as possible here. By slowing down just enough to bring it... Oh, I hate that. Changing our time. There we go. If we do it right here, then we can fix the... We can fix the normal later, and then this is going to be the last burn of the episode. One thing I think Kerbal Engineer's having trouble with is that these fuel tanks are pumping into this guy, which actually we should set him as a pump 8 and pump out of him. Because when he runs out of fuel, we want to be able to ditch him. So we want to know when he's out of fuel. Okay, 3, 2, 1, burn. I'm noticing that these guys are having a little bit of trouble. He's having a little bit of trouble as he goes. This thing is getting more and more wobbly. Let's actually control from here. That should make it a little bit less wobbly. But I think it's because of all that mass up front. But the burn's almost over. We can actually now... Oh, yeah, check that out. We're just going to burn very slowly. We don't even need the maneuver node anymore. We're just going to burn until we are under Jool perfectly. There we go. Now we're going to set up a mid-course correction to at our descending node here to get this all set up perfectly. Now, I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to do that off camera. Next episode, we are sending another probe to Eve that's going to land. We got some mid-course corrections here, and we're probably going to return our guys from Eve that are returning. Hope you're looking forward to it. I definitely am looking forward to doing it. I'm HMV, and I will, as always, talk at you later.